So the preparation time at expired. Welcome to the Open Grand Final of JPDU Spring Tournament 2025. So first of all, I would like to congratulate your team for proceed to the grand finals. My name is Hung and I'm going to be the chair of this round. And with me, I have a panelist consisting of Lisa-san, Masao-san, Ryuki-san, and Yago. Yeah, please address the panelists with the gender neutrals. I'm going to try to keep the time for all the speakers and make sure you speak within 7 minutes and 15 seconds. The motion before the how read this how okay we're here. In the word of Kin-Pri, this how we take off the bracelets. Without any further ado, Prime Minister, whenever you're ready, here you go.
Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Before moving on my argument, let me check some points of this debate. And firstly, how the condition of to get the ideal prince. This is that the bracelet tells the Kin-chan's decision, and if the Kin-chan select the right decision, they can get the prince in the end. So if every time the decision is released, the Kin-chan have to choose the right decision, because this is the bracelet controls everyone from the world. So if the decision the bracelet plan is not out from the what the bracelet think, it is not the best scenario. So every time the Kin-chan have to decide the right decision. So in this circumstance, I think the Kin-chan will feel the empty and the huge impact things. One is the emptiness, and the second is isolation. Firstly, I talk about the emptiness. Because of each decision or the choice is taught by the bracelet, the result is all is clear, and the Kin-chan every time the Kin-chan will know each of the decision is to make the best partner. So it will lack the feeling of agency of the Kin-chan self, because they every time they doubt, even if they make a decision, but it is in every time they the Kin-chan do, you feel the doubt, the sense, you feel have the sense of doubt of the deciding yourself, and it is really important in life to believe themselves and to have their own decision, because when it is wrong, the person will learn something from the experience. So this is the growth of the person, right? So if the right choice is taught every time, this is not the life of themselves, rather than the setting by the other person. And the second point is that the self-endeavor is not reflected to the decision, so it is not rewarding. As even if they have the life, the prince with the prince, but will be the Kin-Chan will be not satisfied because it is not from the Kin-Chan's own decision. Imagine that the child will want to achieve the backflip sakagari for themselves, but it is a limitation of time or practice time, and the parents or teacher will support this. And you can achieve the backflip, and everyone will applaud to them. But the children themselves don't feel the goodness or some feeling of achievement will be not fulfilled because they want to be more they want to grow by their own decision, and so it is emptiness will be grown to the person. It is really difficult to bear the situation as a human, which is every time every time the person didn't know what their own decision make the situation be better. So this is a huge impact to the themselves. And second, by seeing the other people, in this info slide, the information is really important that the Kin-Chan know that other person is controlled. Other persons are controlled. So they every time they see, they will realize that once they the Kin-Chan realize the situation, the fact is not unforgotten, and the Kin-Chan will every time the Kin-Chan will recognize that something good is happened to the Kin-Chan, but it is not from the other person's the decision making, but it is a control. So from the Kin-Chan, and every people around the Kin-Chan will be like a machine which is controlled by somewhere. So from the Kin-Chan, there is no person who can make bond with the person, and it is even if this is the ideal prince, maybe sometimes the prince will say I love you or something. The Kin-Chan will be pleased, but it is even if this happens, it is a short term, and many times they say it's Kin-Chan will doubt that it is true. It is not true. Not true. So this is really isolated from the people around the Kin-Chan. And we have raised a counter plan. Clearly explained by the second speaker that the Kin-Chan is from the really affluent family, so they can get other princes, and even if they cannot, Kin-Chan cannot marry, they have a happy life with their friends or a family. So we propose this motion. Thank you.
Thank you for that fine speech. Leader of oppositions, whenever you're ready. Here.
All right, before starting my speech, I'll have two things to do. Firstly, I would like to say thank you to Yose-san to bringing us to this place. Secondly, could you make art So hit you in your heart. Okay, I'm ready to do the run. POI, please stand up. Okay. Stop. Starting my こうやって言いますよね。Starting my speech, 3, 2, 1, go. This is actor motion. Government has like a huge mistake to like kind of frame that like the emptiness is a major is like a prime like concerning point. Like this is actor motion, and then like you is going to care about like a survival, like a possibility of like a surviving is like a more big issue. So like we're proud of oppose. So three things in my speech. Firstly, I proved that like why in the government paradigm is like unlikely to like survive. No, second, two things. Secondly, like in opposition paradigm, we like why like we can get guarantee that like a sense of security and also like possibility of like survival. Firstly, why is it gonna hard for yourself to survive without like any bracelet? First, you are not familiar with the culture or tradition of this world. You are inborn in Japan and not internalizing the culture or tradition of this world. So like you're going to like have a big issue with and also like a conflict with like a tradition or like a culture that is like a fundamental in Japan, fundamental in the world. B, your skill is not unlikely to be applied in this world. You're the average Japanese office worker. So like this is like the war where like you have to like win the political war or conflict as a daughter of a baron, or like live without like any familiar person or any networks or any resources apart from the baron family or home as a like for example like a farmer or whatever. It's super hard for yourself to like actually get the job or get the secure sense of security. So how to survive in their world. Thirdly, see, like let me like clarify. So you are not robot with this bracelet. You're not going to be determined by like every single act by the bracelet. For example, like when you go like the timing, like you go to like a bathroom or like what you're going to eat for lunch or whatever. You're not a robot. Okay, moving to my second point. So why in a government, why in an opposition panel, you're going to like secure the life. So let me like clarify why you're going to like why you can marry with a prince with a bracelet. It's like an info side say like you can make like a 100% correct choice. So like you could get like a high high like a favorite from the prince. For example, like giving like content of like present or like maybe like a favorite like a conversation topic or whatever. So like you can make like like for like accumulate the favorite from the prince and then like get the like the marriage in a total. Okay, so like why is it gonna be like good for yourself to like marriage with the prince is going to be like the best choice for yourself to like survive in this world. 5 things. So like firstly, as I told you, like yeah, as I told you, like you're not familiar. So like yeah, as I told you, like it's like merging with like a priest is actually financially like sustainable. So like you can live in a castle, but like a priest is going to be like save you at the most cost to like actually guarantee the life of security because you are a princess for that priest. secondly, that in this world is going to be get a hierarchy exists. So because this is a kingdom. So that is meaning that in this world is going to be look like a medieval Europe world. So a hierarchy exists. So you have a place with without any help from a princess in a government paradigm. So you have to face with war with other barons to get the territories or guarantee that has secure to get the territories over your world, or maybe maybe you have to deal with a political war or strategies to maintain the status or maintain the hierarchy of as a baron or whatever. So so losing the place you're going to familiar with is a super risky things. Thirdly, it's a conservative society. So this is a Hokkenshugi or hierarchy. So maybe without this verse, without a marriage with a priest or whatever. So that is actually created a situation you have to maybe your family or your parents is going to force you to marry another guy for a political purpose or maintain a family or whatever. So this is not gonna in the government paradigm. It's unlikely to you going to marry with your choice partner as yourself by yourself. But maybe a family is going to force you to marry, or at least you have to leave the family without any resources or networks. Okay, but counterpart, we know that the personality of the prince, as you have played in Japan and for a long time, or you at least love the personality, or maybe that is leading to the romantic features with prince. Fourthly, you have basic understanding of important or prime characters surrounding yourself or surrounding the prince. So friends or members of the castle is going to be familiar with you, familiar for yourself because you play the game. So you know the personality or you know the background of the prime members, so the core members. You have understanding. So you know that maybe enemies or people who might be how to say risky for yourself. You can avoid from these people with bracelet. So yeah, but without bracelet, because of butterfly effect or whatever, small changes of individual the characters is going to cause a big effect. That is actually leading to unexpected features. Even if you know the basic understanding of characters or whatever, you cannot apply with these information or knowledges to these characters. Fourthly, maybe you're going to lose sense of security. So that is government is going to not guarantee that once you take off the bracelet, maybe the character you know you from familiar is going to do the different movement as you expected, because since you going to since that character after you take off the bracelet is going to freely move how to say out of plot or basic plot or whatever. So that is meaning likely to this character might start to hate you after taking off bracelet, and then maybe do that how to say but choice or whatever. So from these reasons, government paradigm is unlikely to secure your life, and we oppose.
Thank you for that fine speech. DPM, whenever you're ready, here.
Okay. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. I'll talk about 3 things. First, you will going to be unhappy in the opposition world. And second, I'll talk about the world after you take off the bracelet. You still have possibility of being able to marry the prince, and even if not, you will be absolutely happy. And thirdly, a woman's happiness is not necessarily marriage to the prince. First of all, you are going to be unhappy in the world. 3 things. First, isolation. Just read the information slide. You came to this world, from being away from all the human relationship, all your family and friend of your real world, right? You, as opposition side concedes, you are alone in this world, and you have to be happy in this world, creating new relationships with new people, right? And yes, and this kind of situation, if you notice that every other person than you is just acting as they programmed, and this is not the actual relationship, not actual mutual interaction between person and person, you will going to be feel absolutely isolated. Oh, they seems to be caring about me, but they are actually not, and I know that. However, they are kind to me. This is not because they like me, but they are just because they are programmed. Secondly, sometimes the right choice instructed by the blessed is against your will. For example, I don't know, since how this happened, since it is the game world, you frequently face selection phase, right? Oh, the prince is casting sweet words to you and touching you. 2 choices. Happy to accept or reject him. You have to choose either of this, right? Your choice. And here, your choice reflects your value. Even if the answer is happily accept that, if you don't want to do this, you have to obey that direction, right? This is really unhappy. And since your choice reflects your value, and that pile of choice bring you to the result, this means that if you choose that choice that really aligns with the values of the prince, you can marry him. Which means if you even without the bracelet, if you choose the choice you really want and you marry to prince, that means that prince is the best person for you. You two are really going with. But if the right choice was against your will, well, probably the prince is not the right person to you. If you could marry him, you cannot be happy at all. Okay. And thirdly, if you could marry the prince, this is not because you were charming, you were really approved by the prince. That is because you just automatically selected the choice instructed from your bracelet, and you know that. And in this case, there is no way you can have the affection to the prince, because the prince is not that prince is only the result of the right choice, the pile of your instructed right choice. And you are likely to remember not you wouldn't likely to be always thinking about, oh, it's not real, it's not fake or something like that, but in the fraction of moment you remember over and over again, oh, this is a fake world, and feels like shit, and this is severe mental harm for you. And secondly, you will let's talk about the world after you take off the bracelet. First, you will still have possibility of being able to marry the prince, right? It's possible that you happen to have all the right choices even without bracelet. Here, I'm not betting the specular and possibility of marrying him. I'm the important part is that if you ultimately marry the prince with every choice you made by your own will without instruction from bracelet, probably the prince is the best partner for you. You can be really comfortable by being with. If you take off the bracelet and couldn't marry the prince, probably he's not the best for you. Yes, and the third thing is what women's happiness is not necessarily marriage. You can and in our world you can seek any other romantic relationship, right? And you can find your hobby, your job, and there is going to be like plenty of choices. And they said that in our world, you can be like in a position of really like insecurity or something like that. But this is absolutely not likely. Like you are daughter of baron and you have the status, and they said like your like culture or like tradition is not going with the world, but like you can imagine, you can adjust soon. For example, if you had to like bow 3 times in order to meet kings in that world, you can just learn how to behave that and like mocking the other people around you, and you can just adjust yourself, right? And even you have to be like I don't know, like you can adjust soon, and at least they are a human, right? You are human, and like in however like complex manner they have, as long as you behave as a human and try to be polite to them and kind to them, you will absolutely just be accepted. And since you are daughter of baron, unless you you do like severe like really rude things to king or something, you are not likely to displaced from the hierarchy, right? And you're with like current knowledge from real world of Japan, I don't know, with that you can be like omoshirei and be respected. And yeah, you can seek other happiness than marriage. Obviously, in on our side of the house, you can be happy. Thank you.
Thank you for that fine speech. Dear whenever you're ready, here.
Okay, I don't usually not doing any shout out, but I think it's a bit special for me, so I just do a little bit. Some of you might know I had a kind of bit complicated relationship with my institution, and like it was actually not kind of rare for me to have this kind of opportunity, but I think it's been a while for our institution to actually send the teams to the nationals final. I'm so proud of you too. Thank you. Okay. I hope it's mic off. Okay. Okay, God's quiet, marriage is not the only source of the happiness. But what we are talking about is the lack of knowledge and increased randomness of the behavior of people around you. It's a literally imminent psychological or physical threat for you, because how to interact with these people, how to behave as a daughter of the baron, and all of these, micro interaction with the decisions that you have to make in your life becomes significantly difficult on their side. The question of whether this person's quality of life is good or bad is based on the answering the question is whether this person is safe or not. And I think basic condition to guarantee the security is a prerequisite to accessing any other types of benefit that this person's can extract from their experiences in this world. First thing that I want to talk about is about the interaction with the other people. Their claim is that you feel empty and isolated because everyone around you is just following the plot, and you feel like all of your decisions is just only for a marriage and not meaningful for your own benefit. What I'm going to talk about is you rather feel like your daily interactions authentic on our side, and rather the insecurity increases on their side. Firstly, the info side just notes that people in this world is controlled to follow the plot, but it doesn't necessarily mean that all of the people around you are like doing the same thing all the time, or just repeating the same lines of the conversation, just like a random NPC. Realistically, in the daily micro interaction with these people, I feel like very authentic because every single banal conversation of how was your weekend is like, or all of these things, is not just restricted by the plot because it doesn't affect the story itself. Each individual have their own life and own experiences, own cognitive ability, and I think these are capable of handling authentic conversation, authentic interaction with these people. But secondly, isolation becomes worse on their side because what makes you feel not isolated is the knowledge that you have about people around you, because the assured knowledge of who they are and how those people look like is the source of the feeling that you're not alone in these completely foreign places, that you suddenly get transferred. At the point at which you take off the bracelet, you feel like, what if everyone I thought that I know so far will change into completely different person? Because what if they might have the completely different interest, but that was just restricted by the plot? And everything is, so much random and so much unacceptable, unpredictable. The lack of the anxiety, the level of the anxiety and isolation is even more larger on their side at the point at which you try to just take off the bracelet. But lastly, even if they are right about, you feel bad about people get control, the key thing is, plot has an ending, because in the otome game like this, the marriage is the goal, and the further depiction of the how life after these marriages look like won't be included within the plot. That basically means after you get married, there's no plot because there's no something that is restricting the people's the behavior to begin with. But what remains is the settings of the person's identity, and all of these settings of the characters all remain. So you still know who they are, but I think the sense of there is plot. So every single decision that everyone around me deciding is already based on the plot. These sort of senses will disappear after you completed the story by getting married. So your idea of what will going on, you don't have any idea of what will going on after you get married. This can coexist with our impact of security, because our nuance is in the process of getting married, in the process of building the basic security for your life. The security in both physical and psychological sense is a issue, but after marriages, you already build the connection with the people. You get literally get married with the ruling person of the country. You get used to the living in this sort of world. I think these issues becomes relatively marginal. What makes it, if they claim that the authenticity of the interaction with people is the most important impact, even if we credit that sort of harm, this only applies in the short term. After you get married, you will be free. Then, next thing I want to talk about is about choice. They have a little bit more, principally nuanced claim of, if you're not making decision based on your own free will, that's not your life. Firstly, this sounds fancy, but the scope of decision that bracelet can ensure to be right. It's only about the marriage with the prince. You don't have to necessarily feel like every single decision you make is not authentic and not something fake. But secondly, the impact of whether you feel like you have agency is meaningless, because on their side, you will actually lose agency, because this is said kingdom, and practically speaking, just most otome game kingdom is inspired from the medieval European society, where when bracelet is removed, like classism, misogyny, conservatism rises, because the structural reasons for this is that there is all the social structure is already prepared, because the setting is there are family of the balance, there's the kings and all of this religion or the priests and all of these social settings just to make it more realistic like in medieval Europe exists. But mysteriously in the otome game, this conservatism, this classism didn't work because it just annoys us for the actual plot that your happy relationship with their princess. What will happen on their side is at the point at which you take off the bracelet, all these sort of pre-existing social setting, social structure start naturally functioning in a way in which that these conservatives manifest. You're the women have significantly less power, less decision-making power compared to the men, in which way that you harms your autonomy. Simply, lastly, on quick playing about the why security is a winning issue in the round. Firstly, about this is the imminent concern for you, because before you considering about these people are like maybe like NPC, and I feel like so bad for them because just because of me not taking my bracelet, these people are under control. Is a less prior concern for you, because right after you get transferred into this completely nonsense war, like this is a prerequisite of the caring about the future quality of life is ensuring your current safety of your life, because you might forcibly get married with a random cis male for the sole purpose of getting political power by your parents, and all of these things are quite likely they have to actively engage this. But secondly, this impact of security is fucking certain, because what we proved is a marriage with the prince is the best possible security for you, because the bracelet assures this the success of this marriage 100%, assures that the 100% right decision ought to be made thanks for the existence of the bracelet. So not taking off the bracelet and just ensure the basic, the most amazing level of security for you is the actually start line that you can actually meaningfully enjoy the life in this world. For all of that, beg you to approve.
Thank you for that fine speech. Roman whip whenever you're ready. Hyo.
If security were the only metric to decide what we do in life, we would stay at home and never go out because we risk maybe hitting a car. The problem is they are unable to balance probabilities of how this risk will be severe. If we're able to prove that this risk is not that severe, it is far more better for you to have agency in life and for you to be able to make far better choices. That is why we clearly take this debate. Firstly, let's talk about the survival. What I'm going to prove here is that it is more likely than not for you in this specific instance as a baron's daughter that has the potential to marry a prince, is probably going to be safe in this situation. The first thing I want to talk about is that you, as a baron's daughter, you're not just some random baron's daughter. You're a baron's daughter of having a possibility of marrying with the prince. As they say, it's an extremely hierarchical society. You, as a prince, are never going to be able to marry some random baron's daughter that comes from a random rural area. You are probably one of the wealthiest barons within the society that probably has the most amount of land in the world and has a lot of political capital and control within the society. This probably means that not only are you likely to be threatened by any other type of baron for land, like arasoi, whatever, is probably significantly unlikely, but also that you have plentiful amount of wealth to be able to protect yourself against these harms, especially if you're at the top, by maybe moving to some place if it's unsafe, maybe having lots of guards around you to keep you safe, for example. All these mechanisms are likely to exist, especially because you are the baron's daughter that wants to be protected in the first place, right? And therefore, I just think this means that you're probably better, safer off than probably one of us in this society, because one of us in the society could get a job cut and lose their job and lose financial stability. Probably this person's probably never going to have that because they have the financial backing to be able to do whatever they want in life. Intuitively, it's just wrong in the first place. But secondly, mechanistically of this motion, I think you're unlikely to be that bad off. The first thing is that I think this is a version of the medieval times of Europe, tailored to specifically cater to the Japanese preferences and consumers of乙女ゲームin the first place, right? This means that probably a lot of the, probably the interactions that you have with these characters, for example, the kind of, customs and traditions of the business there are relatively similar to Japanese traditions, because if it is wildly different and, people are playing the game and they push a button and people interact randomly, probably people are not going to like that because that doesn't seem as something that is actually engaging and interactive. And therefore, the version of the society that we have to imagine, as per how the motion is framed, probably means that you do understand it to some extent and make sure that it makes sense. But thirdly, I just want to note on like a technical level, you don't just have you as Kin-chan put into society, you transform and transition into this version of being a baron's daughter, which probably means that you have knowledge about the society, you have knowledge about what kind of roles you must have to, come with, for example, with maybe it's the information cards that come along with you when you go into that, like as an乙女ゲーム, it's probably a highly, like a high spec version of that is input into your brain the instance that you're transformed into this place. And therefore, I think on general, it's not that going to be a problem in the first place. But lastly, if it's is just survival. You're a woman. You're probably not going to be fighting in the front lines of this war in the first place. You're probably unlikely to be starving on the streets. Therefore, their version of survival does not make sense in this debate at the end. I know that this is just mediation. I know we can't guarantee you 100% chance of survival. No one can in any world. However, you make trade-offs and you see that it is worth having some amount of risk of failure because you value things like other things that you can pursue in life. You value things like connections you can have with other people, and that is a trade-off you can never make on their said house. And that is why this is absolutely out of the debate. So therefore, making sure that we probably have survival. Let's talk about the more important parts of the debate and why we're able to guarantee happiness on our side. Notice that I think at this point, opposition side can't win because their only path to victory is to say that you won't survive. If you do survive, we prove why you're happier, and therefore we win on this clash very clearly. I do want to deal with a few things that they say out of line that I'm just going to deal with right now. The first thing that they say is that, when you activate this, people are just going to act extremely randomly, and you're kind of scared of how they're going to act. And that's kind of like, really scary. Number one, I think that's like not very true, right? Because these people, as they say, based on their characterization, have individual interests, have individual background stories, have things like families that they come from, have things like actions that they regularly take and probably hobbies and stuff like that, meaning that these people probably are going to take actions that are aligned with these things over time. And therefore, it's not going to be just active, massive randomness or just people popping up elsewhere. Probably is unlikely in the first place. But secondly, I think this is just rather less random on our side house because you know that they are humans. They make human reactions and human normal behaviors to different things. On their side, it's rather more random because anything can happen for a plot. That is why sometimes the Oji-sama comes out of nowhere to bump into you into the road when they should never be there. That kind of plot point and randomness happens because there is a driven plot that makes people act weirdly. I think basic human level empathy is something that you can connect with on a far better scale. The second thing they say on out of context, it's just that you have like misogyny kick into play. I think the problem here is that this probably does exist on their side of the house as well. They don't actually contend with the fact that after this storyline, you probably have to go into a misogynistic society. This is where I want to address that their version of happiness is probably really unhappy. Like they say that, at least you can get together with a prince that you kind of like, and that's better than the comparative. I first want to note that I think this is highly doubtful in the first place. You just know the perfect version of them. You just know that they probably look nice. You like playing with them on your phone. In no way have you ever tested your emotional compatibility, your interest alignability, the fact that they might be a reliable partner or not. None of these things have been tested. The fact that this person is probably good is unlikely. I think they're likely to be actively bad. They probably come from a patriarchal norm of conventional structures, probably mean that they push you into doing roles like, feminine roles for cleaning the house and whatever, for example. They probably don't share interests because they're like a prince from a different kingdom. You probably don't align with them on an emotional level, etc. And therefore, being with this prince itself is unlikely to be that great. So, however, the problem here is that if they were someone that you align with on a value and emotional level, you can probably get together with them on our side of the house as well. So therefore, that delta does not exist. The problem then is they say is that you're going to be forced to marry some random dude, and that's also worse. That concedes to our point that it is horrible to be forced into one specific line of alignment and marriage, which is their side. So if it is true that that is really bad, at least on our side, you have some level of optionality. You are a baron's daughter with lots of wealth and money. You probably look very attractive. There's lots of people they can potentially choose from. Maybe it's a pool of 10 people. It's at least better than the one person that you get on their side house in the first place, right? But the comparative is, let's say you don't marry them. I think this is significantly better, not only because you probably have other avenues of happiness that you can follow, but rather because you get rid of all the sense of emptiness, etc., that we talk about. Their response here is number one. This reality is pretty high fidelity, and therefore you don't feel that sense of isolation. No, it is not. You noticed that these people are NPCs. You noticed that there was something wrong with this world. You noticed that these people are acting within the plot, that they aren't people that are actually human beings. This probably meant there was a glitch in the system that made them appear out of nowhere. This probably means that they may have repeated lines that they said again that made you feel as if this is something that is true. It isn't a world in which you have been able to believe that these people are real. It's a world in which you realize that they are not. It is a significantly isolating feeling for you to be the only human being, the only real person in this vast, vast world. For all of these reasons, proud to propose.
Thank you for that fine speech. Opposition whip whenever you're ready. Here.
should do shout out. Probably. Yeah. Thank you for Yose-san for being very nice to Hichu. We all love you. And I forced Ryota to do Kimi no Kokoro Hichu, so I have to do it too. Everyone make a heart. Alright. Kimi no Kokoro ni Hichu. Okay. Okay. Let's see my speech. Okay, that was embarrassing. Okay, starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Start. First of all, I like to weigh over in the clash of what the game is going to look like. I think in the terms of like otome game, I think first of all, otome games is likely to have the most likely scenario is that you as a main character are going to start like with a baron. Even if you're a baron, I think it's going to be at a relatively low level of baron because first of all, I think creators have the incentive to make it exciting. So I think comparatively, like I think if they say that like if you're in a really high position, that is, and then you have a lot of security, I think it's not exciting because whatever you do, you end up successing anyways. But in our paradigm, I think the most likely scenario is that if you're low level and you have some difficulties, I think there's the excitement of climbing the social ladder and fulfillment of flipping the situation. And third of all, I think the most important case is that as the incentive creators, they want people to opt into these games. I think they're likely to make it really in a relatively lower status so that players can actually sympathize with that person. They have some difficulties and I have some difficulties. I think there's more sympathy. And second of all, under the context that you are really excited, I think it's unlikely for otome game to be a shitty game in which you don't have to do anything in order to succeed. I think it's going to be really exciting. So I think the most likely context is that in terms of the interest of the creators and in terms of the context, under the context you're excited about the game and interested in the game, I think the most likely scenario is that you're likely to be in a relatively lower status in which you have to strive to climb up the social ladder. I think adds a lot of story and excitement to the game. So I think that's the most likely scenario. Next, I'm moving on to comparisons. So first of all, I think practically it's the best outcome for you. As Elo substantiated, you're less likely to survive in that game because first of all, in the context of the otome game, you're likely to have a relatively lower status. So what's going to happen is that like even if you so when you have relatively low status within the hierarchy of aristocrats, you always have like the heavy burden of tax, the heavy burden of the class difference. And second of all, even if the otome game is not contingent on the likely scenario, I think in general in the context of medieval context, I think women have lower social power, so that at the end of the day you don't have autonomy. Of course, to marry someone you don't love, and I think that kind of thing is more likely to happen. So comparatively in opposition paradigm, we have the success cases and in which you can marry the prince, and I think it's relatively much better in a sense that first of all, the percentage of you having like security, you're going to have more guards, and you don't have like a lot of people. I think it's more safe. But second of all, in terms of status, you have complete status. So I think relatively you have more freedom to do what you want in our side paradigm. But then even in the interest of view, I think it's still good for you. Even like I think we completely win in terms of practicals, but then second of all, in terms of mental state, I think we can totally win in this clash too. So why is it good? So first of all, we say that we can actually have more freedom. I think one of their cases was that like you don't have freedom in their parents if you have to go along with the game. But then I think in the context of the game, I think you are more likely to have you don't have the freedom in your paradigm because like you have like comparatively likely to be oppressed if you're a woman in that situation. So you have the massive stress of like having to opt into the political conflicts or like being oppressed. I think there's no freedom in that context. I don't know how they can prove that you're going even if you have the incentive to do what you want, I don't think you have the capacity to do what you want. Thus, I think you're going to continuously feel the sense of constraint. The nuance here is that we can actually have more freedom in terms of context. When you can marry the prince, you have more status to move people. You have more like autonomy over like because you have more higher status, you have more freedom to do what you want. I think in terms of capacity, we have more freedom in our side of paradigm. But then even if you say that in the mindset you have more freedom, I think we can overweigh this with a feeling of insecurity. So first of all, why is feeling of insecurity overriding their freedom case? I think in terms of this context that you were like 20, you're a 25-year-old woman, maybe like always working in the office, and you suddenly are stranded into this world, I think you have strong feeling of insecurity because you don't know what kind of danger is going to come at you. So I think in terms of trade-off, I think you're more likely to weigh in the context high value on security because I think as human, you have like I think the most primary incentive for you is to stay alive, right? Even if you say all of the other values, I think being alive is the primary thing, or like being able to survive is primary thing to allow all of these things. So I think in the match, I think this is the most important thing that should be protected in this debate. Okay, and in terms of secureness, first of all, sorry, I think he talks about isolation, but I think we can rather flip this point in the terms of that, like okay, in government paradigm, what's going to happen is that like you're going to take off the bracelet and you're going to be first of all, you're in a situation where you don't know what people think. Second of all, you don't know if you take off the bracelet, you don't know how people will move. So you don't know who to trust, and you don't know who, like you can't, if you have a sense of isolation when you probably have more progressive view than the people around you, and you can't blend it, right? But in our side, uniquely, you have like you feel like you're familiar, you know that people, and you know who you can trust. I think you can surround yourself with people who can trust. I think you have more sense of security in terms of human relationships. But then second of all, under the context of okay, sorry. But then even if you, so I think in our paradigm, we practically have more sense of isolation, more sense of secureness. I think this is the most important thing, overweighing all the other metrics they provide. But then even if you say that like you still have some mental harms, I think we can value this over like we can override this with the happiness of being able to be with the prince, right? So let me explain more. Okay, on it. So so even if you like take all of their best cases, we at least at the end of the day, what remains in our side uniquely is the immense happiness of being with your prince, right? So you simply get the happiness of being able to be with who you love. So like you're likely to first of all like the prince, right? Like the prince is likely to be nice to you because as like the game, like you did the game, you liked the prince as from the perspective of you when you opt into the game. So it's likely that the prince is not like patriotic, or it's not oppressive, because you have the view of like the modern woman, but then so like it's like nice to you. So you simply get the happiness being able to be with a really good looking nice prince, and you have like these moments of like ecstasy in which you get like embraced by your prince, or you can go out with your prince, or the prince continues to tell you that you love him. And the comparative in their side, you're going to feel hurt because you're going to see with your own eyes that your prince is marrying some rather other woman. And in terms of like biological ecstasy, I think it overrides all this logic that they provide. So for all these reasons, I think we win.
Thank you for that fine speech. And to summarize the case for the opposition side, opposite reply. Here.
Okay. There are so many rhetorical problems in Nasa's speech. I trust panels, you're smart enough not to trick by all of this, but I'd like to make it clear that on what ground we won the round. Yeah. So the first weighing coming from their side is that on either side, security is not guaranteed for 100%. So the freedom or more option is the key impact, because anyway, you have to take some risk for the sake of your happiness. And the problem of this is they never really explain their comparative, what precisely is the available choices for you, or what kind of choices are actually the best proximate thing for your interests. Regarding this is an act of motion, this also includes the scope of their burden to prove, what kind of choices that otherwise you cannot take on our side without taking off the bracelet is a more proximate interest for you. The absence of this explanation is a huge failure, because the amount of choices itself is not an impact, because they need to prove either it comes with the good consequences, or either like the sense of you have more choices in itself is a good thing. Because pathway of the proving this impact is already, already possible. The only thing left is the second one about the sense of you have more choices is more important for you. But we already prove that this society or this world will not function in which way that allows you to maximizing your choices to begin with. They never really explain the structure of this society will be allowing this random daughter of Baron can do whatever the fuck you want. This is, as I explained, that the society likely to be conservative and misogynistic. The degree of choices and or agency that you have on your side at the point at which you allow this society and this world to naturally function by themselves, the degree of choices that you have available for you is become marginal. The second weighing here is opposition impact is all about security, but on government, there are authentic interaction with people, and this is worth trade-off that even if you risk or you bear this randomness or bear the unpredictability, this authenticity and these experiences that you're feeling that you are not controlling someone just for the sake of your benefit is a good thing. But however, the key thing here is that that their analysis is just washing out the just mitigating the likelihood of how you're likely to feel when you interact with the specific individual in the role. Their response is just the knowledge is that they're of you that these people are under control is a trouble, but this does not necessarily respond to our mechanism of the actual interaction that you have on a daily basis. Is a authentic thing or feel like it is authentic? Is not I think it's even if you have an idea that they are fake, that as long as you keep interacting with these people, that you feel like you're getting the evidence that these people are actually real, even though they acknowledge that they are under control of the plot. You don't feel like they're controlled every single behavior. But lastly, they never really responding that the control of the plot will end if you get married with the prince, because that's when the plot is over, and after that there is no zero restriction, or at least you don't feel like that your knowledge is about the cause of this control is a plot. So you feel like at the point at which you complete the plot, you reverberate these people. For in this sense, if their impact is true, it is more likely for our side that the increase that increase the possibility of getting married with the prince is the primary concern for this person, because if you want to liberate all the NPCs controlled by the plot. For all of that, we will. Thank you.
Thank you for that prize speech. And to summarize the case for the government side, government reply. Here.
Hi, I'm the last speaker of this round. And before starting my speech, I would like to thank you all. Thank you for people who had made every effort to run this tournament. And thank you for judges, for audiences, and the opponent. But unfortunately, we win. Thank you. And I heard that some people are coming here to observe this round in order to decide whether they entered UTDS or not. Well, in that case, I think you have already observed all the great speeches of these people. This is what we do. Okay. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Why do we have to marry with the prince who you don't know about, sacrificing your own value and sense of agency? Thinking of all the situation where you are compelled to choose the choice that you don't like, where you have to always be with the prince and have a long conversation or skinship with him who you might not like. Thinking of doubtful possibility of insecurity on your position or doubtful description of the world after the marriage. I think that small risk is the price we're willing to pay for the agency. Let's compare the opposition world and government world. First, opposition world. As we clearly explained, there would be severe sense of emptiness and isolation. The strongest two argument from today's opposition side was, first, security of your position, which is not likely to be unstable in the first place. And secondly, long-term agency in opposition world, in the fragile premise that you can interact with people in that world as a human being, which these claims are like taken down mostly by our web speech, and our web clearly told you that that risk is at most small. In the first place, you are Baron's daughter, right? And you know, and the custom or tradition of that world is designed to be aligned with the Japanese consumers' interests. So like there wouldn't be that severe misogyny or like strong hierarchy. And so as long as you severely puck up, you wouldn't like lose the position you are currently have in the world. And you obviously, however, the like custom or tradition of that world is different from the like your original world, you can just adjust, right? And there is no, and they were like weirdly assuming that like after the like marriage, the control by the like game program suddenly ends, but I don't think it's likely, because infrastructure says that like happiness like after the marriage, happy life with the prince continues for like long or something like that. And okay, let's talk about the government world. However severely we lose our social position because of not knowing the tradition or custom in that world, as opposition says, the sense of agency assures you of being able to actually live a life there. And they were saying that like they might suddenly turn to misogyny, and you have severe problem of being like isolation actually on our side of the house, or like lose the position in the society. As that for the same reason I just explained, this is not likely. And in like at even if that was true, at least on our side of the house, you are unlikely to feel like every day's like isolation from the world or something like that. And as I clearly told you, on their side of the house, there will no sense of agency. You are like continuously thinking of this person as behaving nice to me, but this is just a programming, and this prince chose me not because I was attracted or I made effort and he liked that or anything like that, but just because I chose the right choice, that bracelet let me choose. And these kind of feeling massively like prevent you from feeling actual happiness. We win. Thank you.
Thank you for that fine speech. With that, the grand final is over. I would like to thank you team for what a wonderful grand finals. Please cross the house, shake hands. We will have a discussion and the result will be announced in the closing ceremonies.